All right, Chet. So we've got some new information. So Freddie Mac, who is they are a mortgage broker. As someone who works in real estate, I sure am concerned. Is this actually like genuinely like a scary time, Cody? I don't know. Obviously, I don't know much about the housing market. All I know is I bought my house, and I got a pretty good deal on it. But like I mean, so I look at this and I see a positive. I think it might be it's a negative for some people and a positive for others, right? Because if the housing market bubble pops, because this is what this is, Freddie Mac housing delinquency is now higher than peak levels seen during the 2008 financial crisis, meaning that people are not paying their mortgages and houses are getting defaulted on and they're getting reclaimed by the mortgage company. And hold on, sippy. And so there's positives and negatives to this if we have a housing bubble pop. The negatives, obviously, anyone in the industry is harmed directly by this. Their income is harmed by this, and those who own houses as investments, are harmed by this. They're harmed by the market, the bubble popping, and the market deflating, right? But there's positives. Houses getting cheaper is very good for people who want to buy houses, who actually want to buy a house and live in a house, right? That's good for them. It's also good for people who own houses and want to continue to live in that house for a long period of time, because you can get your house reassessed and the value will go down and your property tax will go down. That's good. These are good things. So it's good for people who want houses, I would assume, and bad for people who are whose housing is monetized for them in some way. Marty's just shit all around. If a real human being crash out on homes, corpos are going to buy more. You think so? I work in SEO for a large real estate website, and I will say this right here isn't our big concern. Oh, really? It's a really big issue right now with housing bubble pop is who is going to buy the houses when it crashes. There are no consumer protections in place to prevent corporate housing buyouts. That's true. That is true. I think that you make a very good point, is that that if the market dumps and normal people are selling off their houses for cheap and corporations just have a big slush fund of money, they could buy up those houses, sit on them, and then start to increase the prices again, right? That is a legitimate concern.
You need to understand that this creates an environment where private equity investors are buying up homes in huge numbers and rent them at increased rates. Individual buyers cannot compete with them. Deregulation is exacerbating this, and likely this will hurt normal people more.
Yeah. I believe that it should be illegal for corporations to own large swaths of thousands of houses to rent. I think that it is honestly, I'll be real with you, chat. I think you shouldn't be allowed to own more than 2 properties. For real. I think in America, you should not be allowed to own more than two housing properties. Whether that be a house and an apartment building, a house and a vacation house, etc. I don't think you should be allowed to own more than an individual or a corporation or multiple corporate. It doesn't matter. Like if you're under a bunch of corporate umbrellas, like business properties is different. You know, I think that's fine. Like it's whatever for business properties, but housing properties. The big issue in America right now is not actually the inventory issue, but an inventory issue in pricing range people can actually buy. Oh, so like there's a lot of inventory, but the problem is that the pricing is like at a point where people can't afford them. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I think 2 is pushing it. No, I think 2 is fine. I think like people deserve to own a vacation home or own an apartment building to rent. I think that's perfectly fine. I have a corporate landlord related management, largest state in my state. I think. That's un-American. Disney World was built on privately owned land. Well, those aren't housing though, right? Disney World is not housing, it's a park. That's different. There are tons of homes are for sale, but the issue is most homes for sale are over 300 to 350K, which is a price point that home seeking a market cannot afford. Yeah, exactly. Really, there'd be a lot of workarounds. Well, that's why you got to close the loopholes, right? Don't they want 100K for mobile homes in my park? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Pricing of everything has just gone up to absurd levels. And that's the problem. It's unaffordable for people. There's over 5 million vacant homes in the U.S. right now sitting there. Don't say whatever to business properties. The corporals are just going to try and get everything labeled as business property. Then, well, but you can't live. A point of a business property is you can't, like, legally, like, live in it. You cannot sleep in a business property. So then, like, they couldn't rent it, right, to people and that whole market would be shut down for them. And the businesses, only so many businesses need to exist, right? There are homes here in Bumblefuck Kekona Land going for an average of 410K. They need to set price caps and ceiling based on average income. This is ridiculous. Fuck the business properties too. Louis Rossman has multiple videos on why corporate landlords purposely keep their building empty with ridiculous rent prices. That's true, I guess. Yeah.
There's two big things you need to look out for. Large bubble collapses can create a recession similar to 2008, and banks can be tanked from this. Bailouts saved them in 2008 and likely prevented another Great Depression. However, if the current administration continues to guy agencies' protection and the FDIC, nothing will prevent that. Additionally, people need to compete with equity investors, which isn't likely.
Commercial zoning is pretty strict too. Most politicians are good at closing holes and ladies of the night and making 6 figures a day. That's true, yeah. You're not wrong. Man, it's, yeah, I don't know. It is real. I guess there are concerning elements of this that I didn't think about, of the lack of regulation. But, I mean, if all the properties are available, at least there will be a glut of properties that are decreasing in value that people could potentially buy for a period of time, which, maybe. I'm always hopeful, though, Chad. See, this is the thing. I think I'm pessimistic but hopeful, and Chad is pessimistic but doubtful most of the time. I think that's our difference here. Is that I always try to look at the bright side of, like, what positives could come out of this, and the positives I could see is like a reassessment of property so that people can people's homes are paying less in property tax, and a potential window for people to afford houses that they normally couldn't have afforded. Obviously, yeah, there might be some major corporate buyouts of houses, but I want better for people. You know, I hope for better. I want better. I want people to be able to have more economic opportunities. I'm pessimistic because I'm always right, and only bad things happen. Bah humbugged. Are they the kind of guy who falls fast first out of cactus and thinks at least I'm not a virgin anymore? I'm not pessimistic. I'll survive no matter what. But I will say shit sucks when it sucks. Yeah, I don't know. I want to hope for the best. Why do you hate freedom so much? I've discovered that expecting the worst leaves more room for being pleasantly surprised, at least. Yeah, I guess that's true. My concern always is, I mean, I've said this before on stream, but my concern always with, like, always bah-humbugging and saying everything is going to be the worst thing ever, no matter what, is, it's a mental health concern. I worry for people because, so, I know how poor people's mental health is. I know how poor people's mental health is. I know how bad people like how there is not a lot of support for people, and people don't have a lot of positive coping methods for these issues, and I worry that constantly never looking at the bright side, never trying to find a potential positives to situations, and always being doom and gloom about stuff will just perpetuate that environment for those people and not help them. You know what I mean? Like, this is not to say that I don't think we should talk about negative things when they happen and acknowledge them, and be aware and ready to deal with them. But I always have a real concern about, like, constantly spinning negativity all the time and how that will affect people, and because very often people who suffer with depression and anxiety and these problems, they are their own worst enemy, right? a lot of the things that are not actually having a direct effect, it is simply the idea of those things that is having the effect of the lethargy, on inability to get out of bed, the misery, the sadness, the exiling yourself from your friends and not being around people. These, the potential self-harm, like all of this is caused by your own internal thought processes of going to dark places, right? And like the only way to get out of that is to try to be in more positive spaces and not constantly. It's the doom scroll, right? It's not constantly consuming negative media that makes you feel bad all the time. Also, a larger concern is that the sign that more Americans are struggling to afford housing given loans are slightly less predatory than in the '08 bubble than this. Means people took good mortgages, fair ones, and can't afford them still. Yeah. And that's probably also in part due to the the lack of increase in income to the individual people, and as prices go up for everything. It's all a knock-on effect.